Welcome to another art critique with the art tutor. Today I'm very excited about this particular critique. This is the work of two pieces done by a past student of mine, and I'm going to take a look at how she would have developed her style over the period. And we're going to assess these two pieces together. This is the first one. They're entitled Yolk, and this is the second one. So we're going to go through it together, and let's have fun. When I look at these two pieces, and I'm going to start with this one, I really appreciate the way in which the subject matter was expressed. Now, the composition itself, we can see it's the yolk of an egg. It's more on the table, and then what we're seeing here is the yolk of the egg, which is the focus of the composition, and then you have the three images of a hard-boiled egg in the background. It really creates an interesting composition. The square format is not one of my favorite, but I've seen artists take this format and really create some interesting composition. And by looking at what she would have done, I think she would have been able to achieve a very good composition based on how she would have utilized our picture space, and that's a plus. The color scheme is pretty simplistic. We can see that it reflects the characteristics that are associated with the egg. But when you look at it, you cannot help but feel that you can actually pick up the yolk if we zoom in there. When you look at it, when you zoom in, you can see the way she would have utilized her brush strokes and the choice of colors to capture that realistic representation of the yolk. But for egg lovers, I'm pretty sure you get that sense that you can actually pick it up, and you can feel that gooeyishness as you pick it up from off the table. And for me, that's commendable. That's commendable. When you look at the three boiled egg images in the background, and this is obviously one split into two, you're able to relate to that textural quality that comes, or that is associated with the boiled egg. And based on how she would have utilized her colors, you get that sense of that firmness, but yet still that delicateness that comes, or that you associate with the boiled egg. You can feel that based on our treatment of those eggs in the background there. And if we zoom in, you can see that. That's really good. What is also very good is the reflection that you get from the yolk spreading out on the table, reflecting on these parts of the hard-boiled egg that's on the table. And it shows that this student knows what she's doing in terms of understanding color theories and how light affects color, and how you represent that in your composition. That's pretty obvious there. And you can also see the way she would have utilized space. You clearly know that this is in the foreground, and you can see the level of details that has been attributed to it. And then you can see that these are in the middle ground, and also you can see how she would have been able to utilize her tones to ensure that she maintains and she's consistent with showing the areas of foreground and middle ground. And of course the background would be the surface that the eggs are resting on. But it's pretty effective, and I think the use of colors and the brush strokes that she would have used really makes this this piece stands out. And if we take a look at the other one that she would have submitted, see, this is a different take of the same thing. But again, for me, this one is not as texturally appealing as this one. This one, as much as you can see the quality of the brush stroke, you get more of that sense that you can actually pick it up and you can actually feel that the characteristics of the egg yolk. With this one, in this one, I think you're not getting that sense of that glossy film that you usually find at the top of the egg yolk. You're not getting the sense of that in this particular one. But the previous composition, you definitely got that feel. But again, you can still see the colors and the use of colors being done in a very effective way. And she would have switched the composition. And in this instance, the hard-boiled section of the egg is what is in the foreground, and the yolk is in the middle ground. So she would have worked that around. Looking at this, I feel a little more could have been done underneath there to show how the light is really affecting that shape, that part of the egg there. This should have come a little bit more further because all of this will be resting on the surface, and therefore the shadow should be extended a little bit here. Also, I think because this section of the yolk is closest to you, you could have done a little bit more in terms of creating a highlighted area right along here, because I know this is the outside and that's the inside, and to create that differentiation you could have used a little more pure white in this area to create that illusion there, to really make it stand out a little. But you're staying true to your technique that you've been working with, and that's commendable. But definitely that's something that you could have looked at in this one to really add to the essence of what is going on. And if you look at them again, you can see, for me personally, coming back to this one, like the comment I would have made previously in the previous composition, a little bit more could have been done with the shadow, the cast shadow area underneath these here. A little bit more could have been done with that, right, to make them rest a little more firmer on the surface that they're resting on, the table, and I'm going to assume it's the table. A little bit more could have done with a little darker tone here. Could have really done to highlight what's happening. And these two, as much as I am assuming that this one is in front of this one, the way we would have treated this section here takes away a little bit from the composition. And I'm just nitpicking here just because it's important to pay attention to these little things, because very often when we overlook those things, they can really take away from the real strength of the composition. So that's why I'm pointing out these here, so that you can take another look at that. It doesn't mean that you have to go change it, but at least in future you can think things through a little bit more before you conclude or complete your composition. But overall, this was satisfying for me as a tutor, and I think what you would have done here, Lakesha, is a clear example of a moment that most teachers and tutors live for. Because I remember when you started in my class, and we had our first critique session when I would have analyzed the work that you would have submitted, the works that you would have done for me to get an idea of where you all were in terms of your development. You were very upset with some of the things that I would have said about your work when I spoke to you. But one of the things that I'm happy about, I'm happy that you have grown and I can see the change, and I know you'd appreciate where I'm coming from. You've grown leaps and bounds, and your work is taking on a personality that reflects who you are, and I want to encourage you to continue to build and to develop that. What I also appreciate is in your artist statement about the pieces that you would have submitted, you'd have said that these eggs, you have a love for egg, and these eggs are not shop bought. These are eggs that you would have gotten from your homegrown chicken, or that you would have gotten from the chicken that you would have raised. And I can see and feel that in your composition, where there's that sense of pride, knowing that, listen, I don't have to be fearful of what I'm eating because I know where this would have come from. And obviously you would have spent years or months raising these chicks to where they would have gotten to become grown, to be able to produce egg. And I get the sense of that personal connection with your subject matter, and it shows in your work. And that's one of the reasons why I often advise students that when you're painting, you often should paint things that are of interest to you or close to your heart. That way it comes out in your expression. And even if you don't do that, if you're going to have to do something that's different, at least you can take the time and do some research. And when you do the research, you get to understand and appreciate your subject matter, so that when you're painting, it's not just images that are coming on the surface. You're painting from an internal space where you can relate to the thing that you're talking about. And in your case, I can really feel that sense of pride in your work, knowing that this is an egg that I got from my chicken, and I'm really proud of what I would have done, and the way you would have painted it reflects that as well. So I want to thank you once again for sharing this with us, and I hope the viewers would have learned something. But I really, really appreciate the direction in which you're going, and I would urge you to continue to work on improving. Read, research, do more deliberate practice, and don't ever limit yourself, because the only limitations that you have are the limitations that you set yourself. And I'm happy to see that you're exploring different subject areas and different topic and other topics. And I'm also very happy and appreciative of the way you've gone about building your portfolio as you prepare for graduation. So all the best in the future.